y'all. All right, we're good to go. Thank you for the tip, Shannon. Let's see. We're a little past the top of the hour. It looks like we have a good solid group though, if we want to get started. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, great. It looks like it's showing up for me. So I'll take us into our agenda real quick. We'll start out with some words of welcome from Heather and Michelle. I have some really quick announcements to run through in the beginning, but we're going to spend most of the time just getting updates from all the local food councils that are on this call. We have a couple prompts for people to think about in those updates. Depending on how many food councils are here, or probably no matter what, we are going to be holding y'all to some time limits just so we can make sure we hear from everyone. So thanks for understanding that. After we get through that roundtable, which I think is going to be have a lot of the interesting kind of meat of this conversation. I will close out with some really quick kind of reminders and updates related to other FSRC happenings. And then we will go ahead and adjourn and prepare ourselves to schedule the next meeting of this group. So with that, I will hand it over to Heather and Michelle for anything that y'all want to say.
Yes, well, good morning and welcome to our committee meeting. It's terrific to wrap up my week with all of you. And while I no longer sit on a local food council, I worked for one for many years and can't overestimate how important local food council work is to shaping policymaking. I'm currently the director of Montgomery County Government's Office of Food Systems Resilience, and we strive to center community expertise in all that we do. And so thanks for what you do across the state to make that happen. Michelle?
Yeah, thanks, Heather, and thanks, Summer. Hi, everyone. Michelle Caruso, and I'm the volunteer chair of the Frederick County Food Council and also have a lot of local food council experience in my past and present. And I would just share for those of you that don't typically come to these committee meetings that this is a bit of a departure from our typical format. So our communications and coordination subcommittee of the State Food Council, the Food System Resiliency Council, typically meets during the legislative session. We meet on a weekly basis to track the food system related bills going through the Maryland General Assembly. So we had a kind of a fast and furious early start to the year. We had weekly Monday meetings, thanks to those of you who joined us for a lot of those. And we also, in sort of the off period, serve as the convening space for the Maryland Local Food Council Collaborative, which is this space where we get to hear from all the local food councils across the state to continue collaborating and coordinating, which is the point of our committee. So just with that extra context for those of you who might be new, I think that I will pass it back to Summer.
Great. And for everyone who hasn't met me yet, I'm Summer Modolfino. I'm the Deputy Chief Resilience Officer for the state. And I have been taking over for Annika Lefebvre, who you may have corresponded with or spoken to while she's on maternity leave. And she's doing very well. I heard from her the other day and got some more photos. And one thing that would be really helpful to us, we will do a bit of a roll call and get a sense for who's on the line. But one thing that is helpful is if you can put your name and affiliation into the chat. It just helps make sure that we know who's on the call and that all of you know who else is here. So with that, I'm going to take us into a roll call, and I think I'm going to do this in two parts. So first, I'm just going to check on the voting members of the FSRC, and then I'm going to do a quick rundown of the food councils, just so we know who's here. So we've got Heather and Michelle. Do we have anyone from Senator Hester's office? Okay. Do we have Dr. Lansing? Right. Do we have Steve McHenry or anybody from Marbidco? I think he told me he wasn't able to.
This is Stacy Kobovsek. I'm here in place of Steve.
Oh, thank you, Stacy. That's great. I saw Nancy. Do we have Dr. Range? Okay, I think I just saw Diana in the chat. That covers the voting members of the FSRC. I'm going to go down the Food Council list. And I know there will be some repeats, but this might just be helpful for everyone to know who's here. So do we have anyone from the Anne Arundel Food Council? And I think we've got Diana, but if anyone else is here, please jump in. All right. Let's see. Do we have Taylor Lefebvre or anyone from the Baltimore City Food Policy and Planning group? Okay. What about Caroline County Food Council?
Beth Brewster's here.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Beth. Good to see you. All right. I know we've got Michelle. Anyone from Howard County Food Council?
Good morning. This is Rena Rambarat.
Hi, Rena. Good to see you. And we're all very excited to hear about what you're working on. Anyone from Kent County Food Council?
Good morning. I can represent Kent County or the Upper Shore.
Okay, great. And I have both of them listed out, but if they're probably combined updates, so that is great, Nancy. And then Midshore, I think Mike Thelke was planning to join.
I'm here.
Thank you for being here. Do we have anyone who's going to be able to represent some of the Lower Shore Food Council efforts?
We have a few people on. This is Lauren Anstead. I saw Julie Krenzer's on and Al Chandler. I don't know if anyone else is on.
Fantastic. And I know we've got a few people from Montgomery County Food Council because I've been seeing in the chat. But it looks like we've got Elizabeth, Lorian, and there may be others too.
We are here. Oh, thanks.
Fantastic. Thanks for being
Good
here.
to see everybody.
I know we do not have Dr. Range. Is anyone else here from Prince George's?
Hi, this is Camille. I'm here.
Oh, you are here. Okay, great to see you. Thanks for being here. And then I think I saw both Teresa and Willie, so we've got some good representation from Western Maryland Food Council. So we've got a good set of folks here. So let's see, going through my list, it looks like we've got Anne Arundel, Caroline County, we've got Frederick, we've got Howard, we've got Kent / Upper Shore, we've got Midshore, Lower Shore, Montgomery County, Prince George's, and Western Maryland. So it looks like we've got about 10 groups represented, which is awesome and also proves that we will need to be moving people through the updates on a little bit of a timer. So thank you all for bearing with me through that. Quick announcements, letting you all know about some of the upcoming meetings. So we've got the next Distribution and Access Committee meeting coming up on May 22nd from 1 to 2:30 p.m. That meeting, I think, is a really great one for anyone who's part of this group. We talk a lot about issues related to exactly those topics in the name of the committee. Our next full Food System Resiliency Council meeting will be on June 5th, and that's from 10 a.m. to noon. And then we'll have our next Environment and Production Committee meeting, which deals a lot with challenges related to agriculture and really aims to bring in kind of the producer side of the equation. That'll be on June 12th. Let's see. I think that's all we've got before we move into the updates. And this is the order we're going to go in. It's roughly alphabetical, except we've kind of grouped all of the Eastern Shore Food Council updates, as in like upper, mid, and lower, together, because I know that there's maybe some shared updates or things that y'all will want to build off of each other for. So we're going to go down this list, and thank you to the people who are at the top of the list for going a little bit early. I think given that we have 10 people here, we should aim to be around 4 to 5 minutes for the updates. I'm happy to keep time on that. So if we end up having to move along, thank you for bearing with us and understanding that we're just trying to hear from everyone. We have a couple discussion questions as food for thought. If there are other things that you think would be more helpful to share than these, that's totally cool. But some kind of thought starters to keep in mind are just, what are the major initiatives that your council is working on? What do you want this group to know about? Do you need any expertise or support on a particular topic? Because we'd love to be able, if one council is looking for certain expertise and another has it, we'd love to be able to kind of play matchmaker to that. And then also just recognizing that there's been lots of change at the federal level. If there have been any resources that are particularly helpful for you to follow those decisions, feel free to share them or put them in the chat while you're sharing. And so with that, without further ado, I'm going to move us into some of the updates. Oh gosh, and the title of this is totally wrong, so please forgive the title error on the slide. But we'll start with the Anne Arundel Food Council, if you guys want to give some updates.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Diana Taylor. I'm the chair of the Anne Arundel County Food Council. We're only a year old, going into our second year. Our first year, we spent a lot of time in planning and talking about equity in the food system and trying to educate individuals on where there are disparities and why they exist. I think the biggest thing that we were able to establish in that first year is we actually came out with a roadmap of how we wanted to tackle food insecurity and what that would look like here in Anne Arundel County. So I'm just going to share briefly what we came out with, our vision and our purpose. I think that explains a lot, and then I'll give you a few of our results. Our vision is that everyone in Anne Arundel County has equitable access to healthy food that is affordable. And that's a big vision. And I'm sure everyone on the call would agree. Our purpose is to eliminate food insecurity through education, collaboration, and policy. One of the things that we realized and that I really had worked diligently on is trying to realize that we needed other things to help us other than the food bank. So we made an excellent connection with the Seventh-day Adventist church, and I'm not sure, but they have they really helped us. They did a hungry bag thing that we were able to feed over 3,000 people. Then there was a connection with the Anne Arundel Realtors, who collected over 15,000 pounds of non-perishable food during Thanksgiving that went directly to distribution sites. So it did not go through the food bank, but it went directly to the distribution sites, and they were able to give it out as how they felt the need was, or how big they felt the need was. The other thing is that we started going after private donors to collect things like, because we know that the food bank can't support everything. So we started going through, we had churches that give us donations for turkeys and stuff like that. Our results, and then I'm going to stop, Summer, because I know 4 minutes goes by so quickly, was that we were able to bring in extra additional food along with what the county gave the Anne Arundel County Food Bank. We were able to give them 1.5, and this we also put it in this budget this year. So far, the budget hasn't come out, but we're hoping that they will receive that. And we know we really are focusing on our children, that they are able to attend school and be successful. And we know that the only way they're going to be able to attend school and be successful if they're being nourished. So I'll stop at that point right there.
Well, thank you, Diana. And you had even a little extra time. So if there is any last thoughts that you have, feel free to give them. Otherwise, I will move us to the next. And I think, let me just double check. I don't think we have Baltimore City on the line, but if anyone has joined from the Food Policy Action Coalition since the beginning, please jump in. Okay. All right, let's move to Caroline County and hear from Beth.
Good morning. How's everyone? So we actually, hi Diana, you're hard act to follow, girl. We're not that organized. So we actually have been meeting under our group of Caroline Better Together, a collective impact group that we've been working on. But we have a resource website that's up that people can go to find different resources that are needed, where the pantries are, where other food access is. We're trying to figure out now the sustainability of that and where it will be housed in the county for updates. That's always the hard part. But we also decided that we definitely need mapping. Like, where are the sites? Where's cold storage in the county? Where do we have our holes? You know, backpack. We have the backpack program. We have summer meal program. We have after school program, pantries, senior. Is where is the lag for us? So we actually are contracting with Mary down at the Eastern Shore. I was just looking up her acronym to share. So it's Eastern Shore Regional GIS Cooperative out of Salisbury that we are looking to. We've already had initial phone call with her of what we feel the need is. And in that too, though, we're putting housing. So we're kind of pulling other resources for the needs of our residents. So that's all. That's really all I have.
Well, that's fantastic. And if you're willing to share the website that you mentioned that's been put up so the group can see it, I'm sure people would love that. And the mapping effort sounds really exciting. So thank you, Beth.
Thanks.
Okay, fantastic. Moving on to Frederick County, which I'm guessing will be Michelle. Feel free to jump in.
Yeah, thanks, Summer. And Beth and Diana, thanks for sharing. There are so many similarities across the state, so I'm really glad that we are having these conversations so we can all share. The Frederick County Food Council has been around for almost 10 years, but has always been a mostly volunteer food council. And I think in the last few years, there's been a lot of work and a lot of effort towards two specific projects. But as a result of that, given that it's a mostly volunteer-led initiative, or the Food Council as a whole is, we've seen dwindling volunteer support as folks, really take on too much for volunteers. And hopefully we can all kind of relate to this and, the importance of bringing in new folks and also spreading volunteer work out across people who are interested in doing it. So because of all of that, we actually launched a new governance structure just recently. And I will put a link in the chat to the application for that governance structure, which explains a little bit more about the reasons why we're pursuing it. But basically, we're going to create an executive committee that will be the main decision-making body for the Food Council, because, in the recent past, decisions have just kind of been made by a voting structure of who happens to be in that meeting at that time. So this will move us towards a more clear-cut format for making decisions on behalf of the Food Council, as well as bringing in new volunteers and folks who are interested in the food system and maybe have some expertise with different areas of the food system. As part of this sort of restructuring, we also are under a new fiscal agent. So we moved to be under, so we're not our own 501c3, we're under a fiscal sponsor, and our new fiscal sponsor is called Federated Charities. They are a nonprofit whose main purpose is taking, projects under them who need fiscal sponsorship. So we're really excited to have that stable fiscal sponsorship in Frederick, with office space in downtown Frederick if we need it. So just, I think it'll be a better long-term solution for the sustainability of the Food Council. And then the two main projects that the group has been working on over the last few years, one is a pantry report. So there were a series of interviews of all the food pantries, or almost all the food pantries across Frederick County, and then a report was generated with some recommendations. So we're hoping, once this new governance structure is in place, to move some of that forward and to actually acting on some of those recommendations, or bringing folks together to do what food councils do, which is convene and facilitate and try to solve some food system problems. And then the other project is a CARAT report, that stands for Community and Agriculture Resilience Audit Tool, CARAT, which is still in the process of being finalized. And I know we are going to be speaking with the Western Maryland Food Council about some lessons learned with that process. So, once we bring in some new folks, we're really hoping to kind of utilize those 2 reports to start, working on those concrete recommendations. And I will pause there. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Michelle. And just to ask a dumb question, what is going to go into the food pantry report?
So the food pantry report is done. It's on our website, and I will link to it so folks can see it.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on to Howard County. And just so everyone knows, I will let you know if you're going over time. So don't worry if you haven't heard from me that you're going over time, you're good. So Howard County, please jump in.
Hi. Hi, everyone. So our food council is a new one, and it's the first in the county. So at this time, what we're trying to do is, so our food council is a collaboration between the Howard County Health Department and the University of Maryland Extension, Howard County. So it's a collaborative relationship, and since it is new, what we are doing is we're working on the paperwork to hopefully be able to hire a full-time staff person to serve as a coordinator for the food council and to set up the infrastructure for that food council, working closely with extension. So basically we'll be leveraging all of the expertise already out there to set up this infrastructure, the bylaws and all of the good stuff, and action plan to get us started, and then plans to sustain the food council work. So, but in the meanwhile, while we are working on those details of the infrastructure and having those meetings set up with partners, we are continuing to promote and support community and container gardens in our county, and we're hoping to also do focus groups with farmers to help inform from the ag side the action plan of the food council. We also had started an interactive food connection map, and we are going to continue updating that map. And that map basically has like transportation lines, food pantry, and hot meals and other food resources available. And I can share the link in the chat after I'm done. And we also, since it was kind of tricky to have the map translated, we also have accessible food pantry brochures in 5 languages, and they're available digital or print version. So we're going to continue to do those efforts and continue to promote the food resources in the county while we get the everything set up with our food council.
Well, thank you. That's really exciting. And if I can ask a couple questions, one
Sure.
would be, do you have a kind of funding source that's been identified that will help pay for that personnel member that you're trying to bring on?
Yeah, we were able to get funding from Care First to as part of the grant process to fund the individual. It's a 3-year grant process, and then after it gets set up, we're going to look to continue to see like, okay, where does the food council sit, what happens, and how do we continue the effort started. I think the biggest barrier was just to get it started.
Yeah, that makes sense, and super helpful to hear, because I know lots of folks are thinking about that same question about having full-time personnel and how to kind of get the resources to do that. And then for the map, again, and this was my last question, but because it seems related to other things folks are working on with mapping, was that also grant funded, or was that through connection with the university that you were able to get that mapping effort done?
Yeah, so with the map, we were able to leverage data. Pardon?
Oh, nope. Sorry, I didn't say anything.
Okay, so for the food map, we were able to leverage data from the Center for a Livable Future, provided data from the Maryland Food System, map, I think, to get us started. And so we have our epidemiologists use that information as well as our own the information that we collected from the food pantries, and using GIS. They were able to create the map, and then we just embedded it on a web page on the Local Health Improvement Coalition website. So since we've launched that map like a year or so ago, it's been the most often visited page on our website, and it's so popular. We have a poster with our QR code, and it's in all the public schools in our county, and it's taken off quite a bit because that's what a lot of people are have been interested in and continue to be interested in. So it's taken off more than we ever expected.
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations on all that. And I know we're all looking forward to hearing more developments as things progress. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then I'll pass it to Nancy to talk through kind of Kent County, Upper Shore, everything that's going on there.
Well, thank you, Summer. First, I want to thank both Mike and Lauren who are on the call from the Mid and Lower Shore, because the 3 units on the county, or 3 councils on the county, actually started as a result of a collaborative effort of individuals throughout the shore to host a symposium back in mid-March to try to bring as many entities and individuals together as possible to discuss food insecurity on the shore. And as a result of the afternoon session, excuse me, we actually broke into 3 different regional groups, Upper, Mid, Lower Shore, to hold discussions of how we could move efforts forward in those areas. The Upper Shore originally started with Kent County. Washington College's Center for the Environment and Society has taken the lead of that area, and in April, they actually held a gathering of individuals from the Upper Shore counties. Summer attended with Secretary Strickland, who actually addressed the group, and was really inspirational in his words. He commented about a blue sky day and preparing for a blue sky day so you're ready for those other days. And I think people really took that to heart. And the afternoon was spent divided again or into a number of work groups addressing food pantries, accessibility to food, how do we help farmers add value-added products, distribution of food, ag labor, organization of potentially both at the county level and the state level. So at this moment, the work groups are continuing on their work, and then we'll reconvene as a larger council. So, and I want to thank Michelle and Beth and others that, Anne, I know you're on there somewhere, that were presenters and facilitators and moderators at the March event. We couldn't have done it without all of you.
Well, that is really exciting. And I will say from the April event, we were so impressed. And we're always impressed by what Nancy does, but it was incredible to see the work that Washington College was doing to support this effort. And we were also impressed by the use of student research to help advance some ideas for what the Upper Shore Council could do. And I think you did a really great job with the event, setting up some facilitation for people to align on priorities. So it was exciting to see something in its early stages that's organized so well and has a lot of commitment behind it. And so with that, I'm going to move us to the Midshore. And I think, Mike, that's you speaking there, so feel free to jump in.
It is, and thank you. I appreciate it. Following up on Nancy's thank yous, I think we've got a lot of energy going on the Eastern Shore. As far as the Midshore, let me get to my notes real quick. Thought I had them open here. Yeah, I do. So we, following the symposium that was at Chesapeake College, had our first organizational meeting on April 29th. We had about 25, 30 people that attended. Again, we spent most of our time talking about the why and the how rather than what we would do. We would defer what's, projects or initiatives we would take to later meetings. We started out the conversation trying to distinguish our peculiarity as far as a tri-county food council and what the relationships and involvement would be at the individual county level within our tri-county, the tri-county as a region, and then the larger Eastern Shore region. I think there's an intent to have an Eastern Shore coalition that sort of connects on an annual basis the three tri-county food councils on the shore. We came to the consensus that we wanted to formalize the council rather than be informal. So we're looking towards, again, organizing ourselves, but also having our 501c3 activity under the umbrella of an existing F3, 501c3 like the Midshore Community Foundation or Midshore Rural Health or Midshore Behavioral Health or something for administrative purposes. We've decided to initiate a survey amongst the long and growing email distribution list we have to begin to find out, who everybody is, what they do, what issues are important to them, as well as solicit who else they say we should be inviting into these conversations so that we do as much stakeholder outreach as possible. We ended the meeting by creating a steering committee. There are as many as 10 people on that steering committee. We've also started to, next steps, develop our talking points. What's our messaging? What's our message to future stakeholders to get involved in this, but also what is our messaging to elected decision makers and other advocacy that we want to start communicating. And then there was a discussion lastly about trying to assess within each county what is their infrastructure relative to their food systems, respectively. And one of the first projects that we thought about doing was working with all the food pantries within each county and standardizing the data they collect relative to the food that they distribute, because they all do different measurements. Well, they do a lot of the same measurements, but they do it in different ways. And it would help if we standardize that data collection, because then it would help us moving forward in terms of grant applications that we do for future funding opportunities. That's it.
Wow, that's really exciting. And I hope you saw it's still going, all the emoji reactions going. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. The idea of standardizing data across the food pantries. And it's also really fascinating to hear how you're thinking about this structure with kind of knowing you'll have these tri-county kind of structures and figuring out how that interacts with the county and then how the three interact with each other. And just to make sure I understood properly, for the structuring, it sounds like y'all were thinking about similar to what Frederick has, having a fiscal sponsor that
basically is it. Yes, thank you.
That's kind of the idea. Gotcha. Okay, well, great. Thank you so much. It's really, really exciting. And I think we'll go nicely into the updates from the Lower Shore Council. And I believe, Lauren, you had jumped in, but there were other folks on the call too. So I'll pass it to you to give the updates on what you all are doing.
Yeah, thanks. I'll jump in, and then if anybody from Lower Shore has anything to add, please do. We're the least far along, but we're in a similar place to Midshore. So my update's kind of similar to Mike's. We started at the symposium as well. It was when we were in our Lower Shore group at the end of the day, we all kind of decided we want to explore this idea of a food council. It was all kind of, hesitant and like, is this something we can do? Is it feasible for us kind of thing? So basically we had our first meeting and we called it an interest meeting. So basically to see like, is this something we want to try to move forward with? So we got together. We have a contact list that has about 48 people on it. We had about 25 people attend the meeting, either virtually or in person. and from a wide variety of organizations. I like the diversity of organizations that are there. I think it's good. We'll of course need to work on growing that, but so we decided, so our first meeting, it was similar. I did sit in on the Midshore. It was similar, but shorter. They did a 2-hour, ours was only 1 hour. So we didn't get nearly as far as they did, but it was very similar in that we really focused on the background information for this first one, like telling what food councils are and why they exist and why, you know, what we might do and the kinds, like looking at the kinds of work they do. And I used the Hopkins manual that I think it was Anne that sent that to me, which was super, super helpful. So thank you for that. That was a great resource. And so we talked a lot about that kind of stuff. We brainstormed things that we might address, or just like kind of the high level topics, and created kind of a long list. So we haven't gotten to deciding what we're doing. We did decide that we want to start by focusing, just spend some time up front with the organizational stuff, like the mission, vision, values, you know, just deciding that or getting that kind of stuff in place. For governance, we formed a steering committee also. It has 4 members that are the leaders, and then there's 2, that's myself and Martin at United Way, who are sitting on the steering committee, but we're more like, we're kind of like, we're the fiscal agents basically, like we're the helping to facilitate, but not really considering ourselves taking a leadership role in like decision making and things for the council, but we're going to help facilitate it. And let's see, so we're going to meet the full group will meet every other month, and then the steering committee will meet in the alternating months. And I think so our next meeting will be a steering committee meeting this month. And I think we're going to set the agenda for the meeting, for the following meeting, I think is what we'll work on. So I'm hoping at our next meeting, we can start generating some ideas for things we want to work on, as well as, but like I said, we're going to spend some time on that, you know, foundation stuff first. So we'll see where we get. But I think that's it. Julie or Al, did you have anything to add?
No, you did a great recap. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Well, awesome. It's really exciting to hear about that, and also just exciting to hear the themes that are present, not just, you know, among the 3 councils that are emerging on the shore, but for some of the other folks that are revisiting their governance structure, or, you know, some of the new questions coming up in Howard County. So really, really exciting to hear what y'all are working on. I'm going to pass it on to Montgomery County next.
Thanks, everyone. Again, I'm Elizabeth with the Montgomery County Food Council, and I'm just thankful to hear the report back from everyone. I know we've been around for a while, but just ticking off the list of things that come up, they are evergreen issues, and I'll sort of speak to some of them with the things that are going on here. On a programmatic level, we have 6 working groups that are sort of operational these days. Touching on our food security work, we are doing a lot of work around sort of more local collaboration among our food assistance providers in the county with such a diverse sort of geography and population. We found that creating more local connections between our food pantries has been just a productive way in moving some more coordination and creating more efficient operations forward, and sharing of information and capacity building. We hear you on the data front and have been working with in this area, trying to wrap our arms around how we can help food pantries to better collect data, recognizing that so much of this is about infrastructure and figuring out ways to support these kinds of functions that they need to take on. So when you're talking about standardizing data, mapping, all of these kind of things, we are interested in looking for resources and helping them build out their capacity, and also do that ourselves. In relation to the food security work, we have we are a direct service provider in the area of SNAP enrollment, and so that has been such a learning experience and such a way for us to be on the ground floor of something, so that we can do the learning and collaborating and uplifting of stories and data and information to elected officials and our county partners. As a lead organization in that realm, we're able to bring in other other organizations to do the same kind of work through the state's outreach program. And so there we're able to be that convener around these issues and forge strong relationships with our local government partners who are doing the SNAP application processing. So we are creating these problem-solving areas for those folks. We are also working with our farmers and food producers in our Equitable Land Access Working Group and our local procurement group. We are focusing now on the possibility of an incubator farm situation and just doing a lot of research and building relationships and information gathering around that, in addition to helping to streamline regulatory processes and identify where challenges and barriers are in that location, in that area for our food businesses and producers. I'm sure I'm missing other things. We are involved with a local climate smart ads project for our farmers as well, but that's sort of like it on the programmatic side. And then I'll just state that, you know, the governance is always a question, and you're always trying to figure out what is the best way and evolve and do your work well. We have a strategic plan that ended in 2025, and we'll be engaging in that process again. And so in light of, you know, the new environment that we all find ourselves in, this is an opportunity to become more efficient and more have a more centralized sort of list of priorities and really become just a better organization. The issues with volunteers and trying to encourage engagement and to become a better place for volunteers to get engaged is always an issue, as is just, you know, resources and figuring out how to get all this work done. So I heard about student research, and we are continuing to form partnerships with the various schools in the area and getting great research out of our young and very enthusiastic folks who are also serving as a pipeline to become, you know, real leaders in this area. So we take pride in that as well. I'm sure there's more, but I'll stop there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think you really touched clearly on some themes that others have mentioned around kind of governance, data, partnering with universities. So really appreciate it. It's exciting to hear about. And next up, we've got Prince George's with Dr. Range.
Hey everyone, happy Friday. Yeah, I'll start off my updates with just sharing one that's kind of personal to me. So I will ultimately be transitioning from my role as the director of the council. And Michelle Burton, if you guys have met her or seen her name, will be transitioning as a program manager full-time for the FEC. This definitely comes on the heels of us ultimately not receiving as much funding from some of the federal grants that we had ultimately were planning to use for the future and for some of these staffing positions. And so I will be supporting in just like a consulting capacity, but just wanted to share that update as far as like the main point of contact for the FEC will be Michelle Burton. As far as also we have our other steering committee members who I'll definitely try to be encouraging to come and participate and show their faces. So that's like one major update. I will say like another thing as far as like just sharing some of those similar just organizational changes or maybe ultimately activities that a lot of food policy councils are seeing. For us, for us as in the FEC, have a fiscal sponsorship agreement with Institute of Public Health Innovation. So that's really been one for us as a group to really discuss through like what are the actual priorities as a means of programmatic versus advocacy, right? Especially with the different funding changes and challenges that we're seeing. But with that being said, we're still really excited with a lot of ongoing activities. Maybe here a lot of other food policy councils or maybe organizations in Maryland have received the Care First grant for diabetes prevention, which ultimately is going to be sponsoring a lot of our foundational work for the FEC just to keep the lights on, as I've been saying, which is going to be really helpful. As we really do still serve as the like major convener in the county. We ultimately do serve hold a lot of databases as it relates to food resources, food pantries, urban farmers. And so that funding is going to be really helpful for that, as well as expanding our work in school nutrition. We also received a grant in partnership with Brighter Bites. So we'll be able to go into 6 Prince George's County schools in the upcoming years, next 3 years, and provide pop-up markets and additional health and food resources that will be available to them. Sorry for the noise. Just want to share that's more on the consumer side. On the producer side, we ultimately had some advocacy efforts this past legislative season. We're trying to get some alignment between our local and our state urban property tax bill. We do have some urban farmers, obviously, in Prince George's County where they weren't actually applicable or eligible, for some of these property taxes because of the size of their farm. So we've really been advocating for alignment, just again, on the local governance of interpretation of that legislation, as well as at the state level. It was not able to get passed or make it out of the state legislation this season, but we do have a lot of support from Delegate Kent Roberson, who will be supporting, but ultimately we'll look to reintroduce that next year. Last but not least, I don't know where I'm at on time. I just want to share that we are actually making our first efforts to have our first in-person event after quite some time, in partnership with our different organizations that will come together for a community garden summit. That'll be happening in July. So we ultimately hope to use that as a kind of hybrid meeting where we can ultimately engage people at the local level when it comes to what is the Prince George's Food Equity Council, what are we doing, what our priorities are, using that as an opportunity to engage new members and ultimately maybe new committee members as well, at the same time that we're also providing all these resources and great content and activities around for the Community Food Garden Summit. So looking forward to that. That'll be in July. But yeah, I think those are my major updates, and I'm happy to provide any answers or elaborate. Yeah, I definitely can share more information about the Community Garden Summit. We have a date, but we don't necessarily have a flyer yet. So as soon as I do, I will definitely be able to circulate that. We're just confirming, logistics before sharing all the details.
Well, thank you so much. I think we can all appreciate that there's a lot of change happening, and it sounds like you all are weathering it. And luckily there's some positive developments going on too, but just appreciate all that you and the organization have done. And we'll look forward to working more with Michelle, and we'll definitely get the word out about everything that's going on. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, definitely.
And then last but certainly not least, we have the Western Maryland Food Council.
Thank you so much. I'm inspired by everybody's work. So thank you so much for sharing all your excellent work. I guess our biggest update is that we are in the second cohort for the CARET assessment. So we're very excited about it. We've engaged Data Driven Frederick, who helped Frederick County with theirs. And so we are meeting, and there's so much to know getting started, and they are such a big help to collaborate. And I'll be meeting with Michelle. And so I'm very, very grateful for all the collaboration with Frederick. It's really wonderful that you led the way. And so I know it'll be a help for us. So that's something we've wanted to do since we formed as a food council in 2017, was to do a food assessment. So we're grateful that this is happening. We had some funds from the sale of some land that was part of what was called Frostburg Grows, which originally was funded by the Town Creek Foundation, which was funding that started the Western Maryland Food Council back in 2016-17. And so we had some income. We decided to use it to buy cold storage for food pantries. So we had a request for proposals out for food pantries. And we have 3 counties in Western Maryland Food Council: Washington, Allegheny, and Garrett. And we received 14 requests for cold storage. And we just met with Ruthie Pritchard from Maryland Food Bank, Western Region. So it looks like everybody that applied is going to be able to get funded either through this grant or through the Maryland Food Bank, because they have funding also. So this is a collaboration with them that we're really happy about. So that's in process. We haven't let anybody know yet. We just met with Ruthie to look over the applications that we got to see who would qualify out of that list for Maryland Food Bank funds. And interestingly, not only did pantries apply, but some community schools. So this is another area the community schools are doing a lot with food access and providing food. I've spoken, I'm a dietitian, and I've done some presentations on meal planning in conjunction with libraries and schools, and then they provide food for recipes that we talk about in the class. So that's been a great collaboration. And then we did receive one of those place-based strategies, diabetes grants from Care First. And we are in collaboration with the County United Way. We were in the process of setting up our new fiscal sponsor, which is the Appalachian Farm and Food Alliance. And we weren't listed on the federal website, although we had our number. So County United Way stepped in and submitted that for us. So this is an excellent collaboration and getting them more involved in our food council through this. So it's a 3-year grant to provide food boxes, and it will be all local food. And at the distributions, we will have resources, community resources as well. And this will be in Allegheny County and Garrett County. It's a continuation of a project called Nourishing Neighbors that was done through a community health center. And then they were no longer choosing to do it, and we stepped in to do this. So we won't be providing as many boxes. It's 1,400 boxes over 3 years. So we're excited about that. And then the Allegheny County Health Department, where I work as a nutritionist, received a SNAP CSA grant to help farmers be part of SNAP and have food boxes. So we just found out about that, and we're working diligently on it. I know a couple people from that project are online, so thank you for that. And we're excited about that as well. Thank you.
Well, congratulations on everything that's going on. I think the like real theme that jumps out is just the power of partnerships that you've got with other folks working in your region on this. So it's really inspiring to hear about. I have seen everything going in the chat, all the different resources being shared. I know I haven't commented on them, but I'll make sure that that information gets shared around when we do a follow-up. And I know first of all, thank you everyone for sticking to the time so well. I know we discussed a lot and we don't have a ton of time to like digest it as a group or follow up more verbally, but I do just want to call out a few themes that have emerged. One around kind of governance, whether it's governance related to setting up a council or revisiting governance and some of the challenges or kind of like needs to be thoughtful around volunteer participation. There's clearly something around data and mapping. I know there was a thread kind of going in the chat and through some of the updates around the Carrot tool and how folks are using that to kind of take an evaluative approach. And I think there were also some good discussion about how all of you have partnered with universities to get things done too. And so understanding the resources that are out there. I think in future meetings, and I'll definitely be talking with Michelle and Heather about this. Maybe we can think through how to kind of go deeper on some of those themes and help folks get the resources they need to take next steps. But recognizing that we've only got 5 minutes left, I don't think there's too much more on the agenda. Yeah, just for awareness for this group, we've got the annual report timeline that we're bumping up against. I will be honest, we're about a week behind, but we're kind of in these early May dates. We've sent just about all of the recommendations to state agencies. We're getting some last ones over the finish line, all with the intent of putting out the report in July. There is a recommendation, which I know many of you have participated in, that relates to Food Council collaboration. And the recommendation is basically to create state level positions that could help coordinate some of this work. So more to come on that, but just be aware that this report will be coming out in July. We'd love to share some of the early drafts of it with this group, or to share information for anyone who hasn't been involved in this process yet. I don't know that we have a ton of time for questions and updates, so I'll mention one quick thing and then maybe hand it to Michelle and Heather in case you all have anything to say. We do not have our next meeting scheduled, so that's something I'll follow up about. And one thing we can consider in addition to timing is if we think we need more time for these meetings. I'm mindful that we just had a whole conversation about how about respecting volunteers' time, and I know that you are all here on a volunteer basis. But if it is helpful, we can kind of put that as an open question to the group about whether more time would be useful to get to dig deeper into these conversations and provide additional support. So you will hear from me or Annika when she's back on scheduling. But I'll hand it to Michelle and Heather in case there's anything you want to say in these last few minutes that we've got here.
Thanks so much, Summer, and thank you to all of our colleagues for the inspiring and comprehensive updates you shared about the amazing work happening around the state. And so looking forward to staying connected. And I really welcome everyone's feedback, and I know Michelle does as well, and Summer too, on how we can make these spaces both efficient for your time, but also beneficial. And so one of the things that we didn't have time for today, but would love to hear from you, is crowdsourcing suggestions on what resources you have found really helpful in your work and in informing. And I think we've already seen a lot of that shared here and in the chat box today. But if there are particular topics beyond what was captured in Summer's summary that would be helpful to hear about, I think that's particularly beneficial to lean on each other in community around trying to, read the tea leaves of all of the changes that are happening in this moment. So, so I think that's it from me. Just appreciating all of you and the work that you do and the chance to be a small part of it. And thank you, Summer, as always, and Michelle for making this stuff happen.
And I'll just say ditto to what Heather said. And it's great to see everyone and hear about all of the progress. It's really inspiring to see how far we've come in just a couple of years. So thanks everyone for sharing.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you all. And as always, this is contact info if you want to reach us, or you can reach out directly to any of the three of us. So thank you all, and have a great Friday and a great weekend. Take care.
Everyone, take care.
Thank you all. Bye.